Give me some idea. It's not like I can fix the cat.
Welcome everybody. Thank you everybody that came in person to Flutter Atlanta. Today's a pretty exciting day. We have our first guest speaker. His name is Trey. He has his own YouTube channel where he does Flutter tutorials. So he's going to be talking to us today about in-app purchases. My background, I'm Emmett. I'm one of the founders of Flutter Atlanta, and I'm a mobile team lead here at Black Airplane, which is where we're doing this call from. And I'm background in native Android and iOS development, and I've been using Flutter for 2 years. We're here again at Black Airplane, so thank you to everybody at Black Airplane for letting us use the space to do stuff like this, and for the food, the beer, and all of that. So Trey, welcome. Thank you for being our first guest speaker, and I'll let you take it away.
Yay!
Oh, it might be on the. Sorry, technical difficulties.
Technical difficulty.
Where's your presentation? There we go.
That's better.
It's on the wrong.
You know, full screen this real quick.
Top right, just hit slideshow.
Okay. All right. Sorry about that. How's everyone doing today?
Good.
Good.
Good. All right. So, as Emmett said, my name is Trey Hope. I'm a mobile applications developer, specifically using Flutter. I've been using Flutter since about a year after its release, so for a while now. I work full-time as a Flutter developer for a company called FloatMe, and I run a YouTube channel where I kind of discuss the ins and outs of anything Flutter related that I know about. And so Emmett and Brandon invited me today to speak about what I know in regards to in-app purchases. So I figured it'd be a good topic to discuss since I've done it before, and I know it's a very vital component when it comes to monetizing your apps. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and jump into the presentation. So what is an in-app purchase? So it is essentially a way for users to purchase additional content or services in your app. So I'm pretty sure you've all seen mobile applications that require you to somehow make a transaction in the app to give your users some extra content. Some examples include purchasing a sword that gives you more power in a game, or a key that unlocks hidden stages. So for example, if you've played Candy Crush, when it comes to coins in the game, you have to get those coins somehow, so you will consider that an in-app purchase where the users will put up their own money and then they will gain access to the coins of that game. And as you can see in this example, this is an example of an in-app purchase essentially, usually when you're buying coins from mobile applications. So what is not an in-app purchase? So any content that can be purchased outside of the app is not an in-app purchase. Some examples include paying for a membership to a gym or ordering clothes from a local store. So for example, if you have an app where you're providing a service that is not inside the app, then by definition, it is not an in-app purchase because the content that's being provided is outside of the app, so it's external. So for this situation, you will want to use a third-party payment service such as PayPal or Stripe. So always keep that in mind when you're developing, that in-app purchase is specifically for content or services that are provided inside of the app. All right, so there's 4 different types of in-app purchases, and I'll go over those briefly right here. So the first one and the most popular is consumables. So consumables refer to in-game currency, bonus health, or power-ups, or anything like that, where you would make a purchase inside the app, and then once you gain that item, you can then purchase it again later on if you choose to do so. So for example, right here, we have an example of Candy Crush, where you would pay 70 cents to get 10 gold bricks. With that, you can use those 10 bricks, and once they deplete, you can then make that purchase again. So the whole idea of a consumable is it's an item that the user consumes, and they can come back unlimited amount of time to purchase that same content. The next type of in-app purchase is non-consumables. So unlike consumables, once a user purchases a non-consumable, they can no longer purchase it again. So an example of this is usually unlockable items inside of an app. So let's say you're playing a mobile application, a video game on a mobile application, and there's a hidden stage or a hidden character. You wouldn't purchase that character over and over again. Once you already made the purchase for that character, it's now unlocked permanently and it's now yours. So it's non-consumable. Like I said here, examples include unlocking a level, bonus in characters, and cosmetic items. All right, the third type is auto renewable subscriptions. So these refer to subscriptions that require regular payments. And the regular payments are based on a cycle that the developer determines themselves. So that cycle can be weekly, monthly, annually, or whatever they choose for it to be. An example of this would be an app like Duolingo, where they offer a plus membership. And as you can see in this image right here, their membership is on a 12-month basis, and they pay $6.59 monthly, and it's auto renewable. So once the month ends for the first one, it automatically charges that user again for the second month, and so on and so on. Same thing with apps like Netflix or Tinder. And the final and fourth type is a non-renewing subscription. So as the definition says, or as the title says, I should say, it's not renewing, non-renewing. So similar to a auto-renewable subscription, this one doesn't auto-renew. So if you have an app where the subscription lasts for a month, once the month is complete, the subscription ends. It doesn't automatically renew itself. It doesn't charge you again. You have to go back and specifically say, hey, I want this content again. To be honest, I don't really see this used too many places, honestly. As you can see, this image is not even like of a real app. It's just an example of a non-renewing subscription. So just keep in mind that usually you're going to go with the first three versus this one. All right, how to get started with in-app purchases. So the first thing that you want to do is you need to configure it for iOS and Android, but we'll configure for iOS first. So in-app purchases, with in-app purchases, you have to create the purchase inside of your App Store Connect, and the purchase is essentially a product that the user will buy. So to offer in-app purchases, you must first sign a paid applications agreement in App Store Connect. You can do this by going to your Apple developer account and then hit view and agree terms. So this is essentially just saying, hey, I understand the tax implications that come with in-app purchases. I understand that they take a percentage of my transactions, so on and so on. All right, the second step is to configure the in-app purchase in App Store Connect. So as you can see here, I have an app called Trey's Demo app, and the first thing I need to do is to select the app in the App Store. Then I need to go under the Features tab, select in-app purchases. Then I'll need to click the plus button so I can actually create one, and that's where I'll specify which one of the four types of in-app purchases that I spoke of earlier. Then I'll need to add information about the in-app purchase, such as reference name, product ID, and price. And then finally, I'll click Save. And if you want to submit it for review for the App Store to actually be live on the market, you would do that as well. But keep in mind, for testing purposes, you do not have to have your in-app purchases reviewed. So I can show a quick demonstration of that in the App Store. All right, so right here is one of the apps I've worked on before called Helpful Expressions. And as you can see here, there's this section on the side that says Features. I need to come down to in-app purchases. Let's see if I just refresh this. All right, so as you can see, these are some of the in-app purchases that I've created for this app. Right here, I have a auto renewable subscription called a premium plan. So I'm basically saying I want my users to have access to premium content on a auto renewable base. So it's going to be like a cycle. Once it ends, it re-ups again. I also have a consumable, which provides a single message product. So it allows users to get a single message whenever they pay for this content. So this is where you would create your in-app purchase on iOS. And as you can see here, you'll specify which type you want. And I'll just go through one real quick, for example, just show you what it looks like. So as I said, you have the reference name, the product ID, which is the product ID pretty much specifies which product we're talking about when we're in Flutter. That way we know, all right, we want the user to have access to this product or not. Then you can also specify the price, and the prices are based on like a dollar amount, so you can go from $1, $1.99, $2.99, and so on. And then just some extra information like the display name and description. All right, so with the in-app purchase specified in the App Store now, what we want to do is enable in-app purchase in Xcode. So in order to do that, you would need to open your iOS project in Xcode, select the runner project in the left pane, click signing and capabilities, click the plus button, and then look for in-app purchases, then double-click select. So I'll give a demonstration of that as well. So in here, I have, let's see. I have, all right, so I can't really zoom in. It's probably hard to see, but I don't know if you can see it or not, but it says in-app purchase up there and push notifications. These are pretty much the different capabilities that you can assign to your mobile app for iOS. So what you would need to do is you would come over here in capabilities and then look for in-app purchase. So since I already have it selected, it's already there, but just keep in mind that this is where you would go to add that feature. If you don't do this step, then you cannot, when you're going to test it, it won't recognize that you have in-app purchases enabled, and then it won't work. Right. All right, so with that out the way, the last step for iOS is to create a Sandbox Tester for testing in-app purchases. So the Sandbox Tester is pretty much a user that they'll be the tester for when it comes to doing the in-app purchases in the app. So you don't really want to just jump out the gate and start charging users, especially when they're testing. You want to be able to like send mock transactions, so to speak. So this is where you would create a Sandbox Tester. You do that by selecting users and access from App Store Connect. Under Sandbox, click Testers, hit the plus sign to create a tester, and then fill out the information for the tester and hit Save. And I can show you what that looks like right here. So this right here is under Users and Access, under my profile. Down here, I have Sandbox Testers, and then here is where I specify me, myself, as a Sandbox Tester. You most likely want to use another email outside of your normal developer account, simply because the one that you already have on your actual device, it will get kind of confused and not know if this is the one for your normal iPhone or you just want to be a tester in the app. So I have a slightly modified email for this account. But make sure that you understand that you need to create a new email and then save the password. That way, when you go to test it on the app, you'll be logging in as that Sandbox Tester. All right. So now we need to configure it for Android. So everything's out the way for iOS. Now it's time to go to the Android part of it. So first thing you need to do for Android is to navigate to in-app products. You do that by opening the Play console and proceed to the in-app products page. Go to monetize, products, and then in-app products. Also be sure that when you're doing this for Android, you give the permission, the billing permission, because without that, it won't work. And permissions are essentially just letting Android know that, all right, the user can use this. So there's permissions for using Wi-Fi. There's permissions for actually accessing the local database on that Android device, and so on and so on. So keep in mind that you'll need to add the billing permission. Then you'll need to click Create on the product, and this is where you'll specify the product ID. Similar to iOS, the product ID is going to be how Flutter knows which product we're talking about. So make sure that you know that, and it has to be in all lowercase. Then you'll add some details of the product, such as title, description, icon, and price. And I'll show you what that looks like in the App Store. Google Play Console. So here's my Google Play Console. I'm using the same app on iOS, Helpful Expressions, and I came down to the side window pane over here to Products, selected In-App Products, and then as you can see here, we have this single message product right here. I gave it a price of $2, and the product ID is single message product. If you hit Create Product, you pretty much fill out all this information right here. Now, there is a difference between Android and iOS as far as how they specify the products. So as you can see here, these are all going to be consumables essentially because they're products. If you wanted to do a subscription, you would go down here and click the subscription area instead. So as you can see here, I have a couple of subscriptions that I made, Premium Plan, Plus Plan, and they're all on a monthly billing period. As you can see here, the product IDs are Premium Plan, Plus Plan. All right, so Android is pretty simple to set up. That didn't take too much time. And I believe the Sandbox Tester for Android is right out the box as well. I don't think you have to do any extra steps for that. So now what we need to do is set up Revenue Cat. So I know you're probably thinking, what exactly is Revenue Cat? So Revenue Cat is a third-party API that makes it easy to implement and manage in-app purchases. It allows you to build the infrastructure in minutes, view purchase history of customers, as well as analyze data to grow recurring revenue. So just imagine Revenue Cat is kind of like a wrapper to your implementation of in-app purchases. It's not necessary for it, but it just makes the process much easier. And I've been using Revenue Cat for all of my apps since I've been in development. So with Revenue Cat, there are 3 levels of product configuration. And as you can see in this picture right here, it kind of explains how each of them are connected. But I'll go into each of these in detail in one second. But the first one we have is products, entitlements, and offerings. So with that being said, products, most important part. Products are the individual SKUs that users actually purchase. So the products are going to be the premium plan itself, all right, or the single message product. It's essentially saying, this is what I'm selling and this is what I'm giving to the user. Then we have entitlements, all right? So entitlements are a representation of a level of access for the user. So essentially this is saying, all right, they made this purchase, you are now entitled to this part of the app or this data or this pretty much this is what you have access to. So you are entitled to that. Entitlements are used to ensure a user has appropriate access to content based on their purchases without having to manage all the product identifiers in your app code. So as you can see in the picture here, there's 2 products. Well, there's actually 5 products, but for the gold entitlement, there's a gold monthly SKU, a gold annual SKU, and there's 2 of those for each device. So each of those individual layers are a product itself. So as you can see, the gold entitlement has 5 products. The platinum entitlement has 3 products. All right, next thing to know is offerings. Offerings are the selection of products that are offered to a user on your paywall. They are optional, but a recommended feature of Revenue Cat that make it easier to change and experiment with your paywalls. So just imagine offerings essentially as a way of saying, all right, this is what we are offering the user. So the whole flow is we create a product, we say, all right, we're offering you this product. If they decide to go with that offering, they purchase that product and now they are entitled to this content of the app. All right, so that's essentially how all these 3 are connected. So what you want to do is you want to go over to revenuecat.com, create an account. It's completely free, and then you need to log in. After that, you need to create your project. You most likely want to call the project whatever you call the app in Flutter. As you can see here, I named my Heart, so we're going to go with Heart in the next slide. Then you also need to register your apps. So there's different platforms that you can specify for Revenue Cat. Since we're using Android and iOS, we're going to specify the App Store and the Play Store. There's also other ones like Amazon Store and Stripe, but I've never really used those. So if you want more information on that, I would just check the site to get a better understanding of how that works. And then you would need to add the app name. So that'll be Heart essentially. But that's the only thing that's required for this step right here. You can fill out extra information like the app bundle ID and all that, but it's not necessary. So let me go ahead and demonstrate what that looks like in Revenue Cat. All right, so this is Revenue Cat right here. I created an app called Heart, and right here I have my products. Some of these aren't even really being used today, but the main ones that I'm focusing on here is the premium plan, as you can see here, right here. I have iOS premium plan and then Android premium plan. And notice that they are attached each to one entitlement. So I'll explain that right here. So my entitlements, which is pretty much saying you are entitled to this content. So the premium entitlement has 2 products. And those 2 products are the premium plan on both devices. And then we also have the offering, which has a premium plan, and it has 1 package. So the package is pretty much going to specify, all right, is this like a monthly package, a yearly package? It's essentially kind of like the cycle for the app. So if I click on the package right here, you'll see that it has a monthly identifier and 2 products. And as we specified earlier, those 2 products are the premium plans. All right, so this is essentially the flow of entitlements, offerings, and products. All right, so now it's time to jump into the code. So the first thing that you want to do is, with Flutter, they make it easy by just downloading a package. So of course you want to head over to pub.dev, make sure you download Purchases Flutter, currently on version 3.9.5, I checked earlier today, and then make sure you get that installed. And then we can go ahead and jump into some code. So, as you can see right here, I'll close this out so make it a little bit bigger. So I use VS Code for all of my development. Just makes it easier for me. It integrates very well with a lot of things that I work with. So right here I have a demo page, just a simple stateful widget. And then I'll just explain some of the properties I have in here. So first thing I have is the API key, which is used for registering RevenueCat services. You can get the API key from RevenueCat in your account. It's ideal to keep this private. For demonstration purposes, I have it open like this, but you will most likely want to save this in a config file somewhere. That way it's not being exposed when you put it on GitHub or whatever online repository you're using. Then we have a purchaser info object, which says that, all right, this is all the information regarding the purchaser or the user who's purchasing the content in your app. Then we finally have the offerings object, which says, all right, what is this app offering for our users to buy? So down here within the load function, I have a few methods to get set up. First thing I want to do is I want to call purchases.set debug logs enable. This is going to allow us to actually enable and disable the logs when it comes to anything related to RevenueCat while we're testing. Then we want to set the API key by calling purchases.setup, passing that RevenueCat API key. Then we want to fetch the purchaser info by calling purchases.getPurchaserInfo. Same thing here with the offerings, called purchases.getOfferings. And then right here we have this line that says, if not mounted, return. This is just a UI thing to make sure that we're not reloading the page unnecessarily. And then once we have both our purchaser info and offerings, we then want to set it to our private variables and then reload the page. So at this point, we now have the information we need. And I'll explain why we do this in the set state a little bit later. This method right here is called purchase package. Essentially what this does is this allows the user to actually make the purchase in the app. And as I said before, the package is what's tied to the offering. So when we see the offering saying, hey, we have a premium plan offering with the monthly package, this is where we'll be passing in that monthly package and the user will make that purchase and now they can be entitled to that premium plan. So once we pass in that package, we just call this method right here, purchases.purchasePackage, and then we'll call setState again to reload the page and we'll let the user know, hey, you now have purchased this successfully, you are now entitled to this content. Something to keep in mind is it's always good to wrap these things in a try-catch block because, of course, anything can go wrong. So if something does go wrong, we want to make sure that we get the error code and then let the user know, hey, you couldn't make this purchase because X, Y, and Z. Then we have this method down here called Entitlement Active. This is just a method I created that's going to pretty much specify, hey, you have this entitlement and it's active. If not, so pretty much we'll say, if the premium entitlement is active, then we'll say true. If not, we return false. So basically, this entitlements is just the active property on entitlements is just a map of string and entitlement info. So if we can't find the premium entitlement in the active map, that means that it is not active for us. All right, and then down here, just have a simple scaffold. It says in-app purchases on the top. While we're waiting for the purchaser info, we're going to have a progress indicator because we don't have the info yet, so we're just going to have a loading indicator. But once we have that purchaser info, we call that set state method that I spoke about, reload the page, and now we're going to actually display some content to the user. So the first thing here is we're going to check and see if the user has the entitlement active. If they do, we're going to say the premium plan is active. Just a simple text that says it's active. All right. If it's not active, we're going to display this down here. We're going to display a button that says purchase premium plan. And from there, when they click the button, we're going to actually get the offerings. We're going to call the premium plan offering. And then we're going to come down here, make sure that the offering is not null. 9 times out of 10, it shouldn't be null, but just in case to be safe. Then we're going to get the package off of that offering. And the package itself is called RC monthly. So in RevenueCat, it's called the monthly identifier, but in Flutter, it's RC monthly. You can find out what the exact title is while you're developing, because when you go to look, while you're developing within your offerings package, it'll say, all right, these are the packages and these are the identifiers that you'll be using. So if that package is not null, we'll then call our purchase package method, and then we'll actually allow the user to purchase the content. So this is essentially how the code works. I'll go ahead and give a quick demonstration now. So this is essentially everything that I just explained in VS Code. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit this purchase premium plan. All right, so as you can see here, this window pops up. It says Sandbox because we are sandbox testing right now, making sure that we're not actually being charged. So we'll go ahead and hit subscribe. This is where I'll need to enter the password for my test account. Hopefully I can remember it. Yep, all right. So we're successful. All right, so since that went through, another message is gonna pop up shortly. It says you're all set, your purchase was successful, but it's on the sandbox environment. So it's always letting you know that this is not a real transaction, it's just for testing. All right, so we'll hit okay. Well, I was on my bad, hold on. All right, and it should reload. I'm not sure why it didn't reload, but yeah, okay, so that's an error right there. I think maybe the set state wasn't triggered properly or something else happened on the back end, but just imagine that once the purchase was successful, after that, it'll say premium plan is active. So yeah, that's essentially how you do in-app purchases. Yeah, is there any questions?
So a couple of questions here. So we went through this kind of quickly, and there was an association, the Revenue Cat's configuration page, where there was an ID key that you pointed back to the portal, back to the Apple iTunes store necessary to make it happen, right? Because, okay, so what is the basic relationship between Revenue Cat and the specific stores for which you then process payments through? Does Revenue Cat manage the payments, or does this app stores manage the payments?
So App Store actually manages the payments. Revenue Cat kind of just works as an infrastructure to keep track of the actual product. So we specify like the product ID to Revenue Cat, and it lets it know, okay, this is the product that's being sold on the App Store, and this is when they go to make that purchase to Revenue Cat, it does everything on the back end to actually make that purchase to the App Store directly. So Revenue Cat doesn't really handle any of the payments directly.
Yeah, they save you from a whole bunch of code where it's like, if platform is iOS, do iOS purchases, otherwise if it's Android, do this. So they're just basically simplifying the actual implementation and code for you.
Yeah.
Okay, so is there any type of like analytics or anything on the Revenue Cat platform? So if you had to debug a problem, like, you know, I paid for this, but I didn't get it, blah, blah, blah. You know, you're gonna have those type of support problems.
Yeah, if I can find the... So there is some analytics. I haven't really looked in them too much. Let's see here. So these are some of the analytics over here. As far as like debugging analytics, that would probably be more so for like, if you use something like Crashlytics for Flutter, you could probably specify that and send that type of error there. But as far as anything that happened with Revenue Cat, as far as, all right, how many users do I have in the app right now? How many payments have I had this month? How many people haven't returned to the app? That's where you would go to Revenue Cat. So this is more for like the analyzation on that side of things. But as far as the development, you would probably want to send that to like Crashlytics or something like that.
If you were to make a purchase on one device and then either switch devices or delete the app and re-download it, is there a way, like does Revenue Cat have a way to actually get that purchase back, or is that through native code?
Yeah, so there actually is a way for that to happen, but you have to be on the same device. So let's say I have this app on iPhone, right? And as you can see, I've been subscribed to the premium plan. If I delete the app, download it again, it'll say that I'm not active in that app. In that subscription. So what I would need to do is, as a developer, I need to add some implementation in here and call a method called restore purchases. So what restore purchases does is it goes and checks and sees, hey, has this user ever been subscribed to this app within like the past 30 days? If it has, it says that it's active again. So pretty much, for example, like if you're on Tinder or something, you delete your profile, you come back a week later, you won't see that you have the gold plan, but if you restore purchases, then you'll have the gold plan again. So there is a way to do that, yes.
Gotcha.
What's the financial impact of using Revenue Cat as part of this? So, I mean, are they charged by the number of users you have, or what?
They're actually completely free. Yeah, completely free.
It looks like they probably charge you for those analytics that you would want.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Let me see. As far as the development I've been doing, I just stay on the free tier. But if you need some extra metrics and things like this, then they have some options here. But you can really do a lot of the development with the free tier.
Okay, monthly track revenue, MTR, gotcha, okay. So they charge you as a percentage. I mean, it's not too bad, like 0.8% or something like that.
Compared to the Apple 30% tax, you'll already.
Well, you're still gonna pay that,
Yeah.
but this
Yeah.
is just a service on top of it to slickify things.
No, yeah, but compared to what Apple's already gonna take from you, the extra $12 for 1,000 isn't too bad.
And honestly, revenue cap makes it way easier. You save a lot more time than trying to do in-app purchases on your own. So I personally feel like it's worth it. You save a lot more time.
Are there any other services that you've explored besides revenue cap?
I've used Stripe before, and I really do like Stripe. Only thing is, you can't use Stripe for in-app purchases. Apple makes sure that they even send you like a notification if you even try to implement Stripe, and then you upload your app. They'll say, "Hey, this is an in-app purchase. Stripe won't work here." So I've used Stripe when I've made some type of service that was outside the app. And I honestly think Stripe is pretty easy to set up just like this. But yeah, in-app purchases, they're pretty strict on that. Like whenever you have content in the app, you have to use in-app purchases.
Stripe
Make sure that they get their 30%.
Stripe is a payment provider in its own right? Whereas this is basically a pass-through to the app stores for the financial transaction to that account. So going back to your point, if you refresh the application, it's because you've got it already authenticated on the app portal, right? So your app is using in-app purchases on the app portal. Revenue Cat's basically saying, hey, here's the app ID. Is this person okay still on on the subscription process? And then you're off to the races, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not sure if I'm butchering his name, but Saba asked, what security measures can you achieve with Revenue Cat? Do they have any extra levels of security that they provide on top of that? Or maybe any best practices related to security when using Revenue Cat?
Yeah, so I'm not too privy to any security on the Revenue Cat side. I know that with in-app purchases, there's some extra steps you can send to where when they make a purchase, you can then send their request to Apple server, validate the receipt, and say, all right, this was a successful purchase, and bring it back to the user. So you can make it secure that way. I'm not too sure if Revenue Cat has anything in those regards for that, though.
Gotcha. Does anyone else have any other questions?
Simone, come on. What you got?
It was great.
It was great.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Just to wrap us up on the live stream, thank you again, Trey, for coming out and being our very first guest speaker. You did an excellent job, and I think you explained it very well. Our next meetup will be in about a month, and we're going to be digging into some of the more popular state management options for Flutter and trying to end the debate on which one would be best, or at least give you a couple top options on what to look at.
May 12th.
May 12th, look for that. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and we will see you guys next time. Woo!
Is that a wrap?